What have you been playing, my guy?
Oh boy. Oh boy, Nick.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Do I need to strap
Strap in,
in?
ladies and gentlemen. It finally happened. Nick is strapped in. He legally strapped in. And now I think he's just having sex under his table.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
think
doing, baby. That's how I
uh,
have sex. It's just
yeah. I've been playing it for months, but I finally did it, Nick. I beat Horizon Forbidden West. I
wow.
bought it at
Can I
launch. Yeah. Yeah.
hold on. Golf clap?
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes, I
Proud of you.
bought it at launch and finally beat it now. I think it came out in February, so it took me fucking how many months? 6 months to beat this.
Hey,
Almost a full baby.
you know what that says? You know what that says to me? It wasn't a good game. Just,
Okay,
just
all right.
straight up. It
Nick's frozen again. That's fine.
was good enough to beat it. Sounds. They're coming back.
There he is.
Here I am. Did you get everything I said?
I got the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good enough to beat it. Yeah. Okay. Here, I was talking about this with with our friend Brandon. Like when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, the first one. Um, I loved that game. It was all I could think about at the time. It's all I wanted to play, and I beat it in like a week, right? Because I was just like so infatuated with the game. I platinumed it. I went back to it last year, even. So it's not even that it's like it was the first one and it's so good, like, or like it was good at the time, it's not good now. No, I played it last year in preparation for this game when it was initially supposed to come out last year, or whatever, to prepare for that. And I loved it. I replayed it. I beat it in a week again, and I didn't do all the side quests or whatever, but like I played through the story and I loved it. This one, it didn't grab me like that. Um, and there's a few reasons for that. I think reason number one, I think the story just isn't as good. I think there's like a lot more going on, which isn't necessarily a good thing. You know what I mean? Like they're definitely building the lore out of what's going on in the Horizon universe, which I appreciate. And some of that lore is kind of interesting, and like I appreciate that stuff. But like a lot of it is like the dialogue's kind of cheesy sometimes. A certain character like dies halfway through the game. I won't like spoil it, but like you're like, okay, I could have telegraphed that a while, like pretty far away, and it felt pretty, I don't know, undeserved and cliche. Um, Things really like escalate in a weird way where like there's one character, this is minor spoilers, this happens like right at the beginning, but there's a character named Varl, who was in the first game, but he's like got the hots for Aloy. At least you get the impression that he does. And then right at the beginning of the game, he meets this lady from a village, and they're just like so smitten with each other, and they're fucking like immediately, and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Name upcoming says, can Nick show Jake his wiener off camera? He will, and he has. Um, but
That is true. It's true.
but then like on top, and like here's the most upsetting thing when it comes to the story. The most upsetting thing is the last game set up the sequel so beautifully, where, and this is spoilers to the first game. If you haven't played it, that's on you, not my fault. But basically, there's a guy named Silence who's played by Lance Reddick, who's great. I love Lance Reddick, and he's great as Silence. But the whole time you're trying to find Silence, you finally find Silence. You guys like work together, and then at the end he like backstabs you, and you're like, "Oh, I've got to go to the Forbidden West to go find this motherfucker because he stole the Zero Dawn thing that like created the Earth, that like destroyed the Earth and created all these robotic monsters or whatever." So you're like, "Oh, I need to go find him," and that set up the next game. This game happens. Lance Reddick is there at the beginning, and you're like, "Ooh, we're gonna get this motherfucker." He's gone through the whole game, and then he shows up at the end, and you're like, "Oh my god!" Like you set this up. Same with a couple other characters, like oh, what's the actress's name? Is it Angela Bassett? I think is in this game. Uh, yeah, Angela Bassett. She's like a baddie in this game, and she's great. But like, you see her, and then she's like gone until the end of the game, and then you have to like make a decision or whatever. It's just like what? And then certain story elements. I read online like if you do a lot of the side stuff, it kind of fills out some of this stuff, but like things kind of escalate in a weird way. Um, and the reason I didn't end up doing a lot of the side stuff, because I tried to at the beginning to do all the side stuff, was when in the very first area, it's like, oh, do this side quest, do this side quest. And it took me like 2 hours to do a side quest for like this cook guy. And it just became very overwhelming. And it's like, man, there's so much going on in this fucking game. It's super overwhelming. And the first game had a good balance of just like a less is more approach, where it's like, here's the big city in the middle and then stuff on the outside, where it's like there's a big like sort of tutorial area in this game, then your home base, and then this massive like Wild West area that doesn't feel like it congeals very well. You know what I mean? Like it just feels it's larger, but it doesn't have any sense of purpose, I guess, as a video game. It just feels like it's land that's there to be there. Just to be bigger, which is like a complaint I've had with like some of the newer Fallout games, Fallout 4 in particular. But like, but even Fallout 4 at least had like the big city that was like the heart of it all. This didn't really have anything like that. It all just felt like cities that weren't connected to each other at all.
With empty space all around, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's my problem with the story. But then you get to the gameplay, and the gameplay is worse too, because they added a climbing feature, which is something in the first game where they're like, man, I wish there was a climbing feature in this game, like an Assassin's Creed almost, you know? I wish I could like parkour. And they're like, okay, we'll add that in the second game. It's fucking terrible. It's fucking it's inexcusably bad. Like I can't. And I feel like I'm crazy. Like no one else is talking about how fucking bad the climbing is in this game. So it's kind of like if you've played Death Stranding, because it's made on the same engine, where like if you click the button, it shows like, hey, you can climb on this wall, and it gives you like little yellow markers. I went into the settings because it was annoying. You can turn it on to just be like, you can always see where you can climb, because I thought it was annoying to always click the button to see where I can climb. And then you'll be climbing and you'll just like randomly hop up to different places, and like you'll get stuck in a place, even though there's a place to grab right here. And like, it's awful. The climbing is fucking terrible. Also, like, her hair physics are just, I don't know how they got away with that, where like her hair is constantly going crazy and glitching out. That's a minor thing, but like, and then the other thing is like, there's just so many things to pick up, and it's just like too much. It's too many things to pick up, like, and it's all meaningless. It all means nothing. It all is like, yeah. What pissed me off is like, I was trying to upgrade a piece of gear, right? And it's like, oh, you have to kill this boss, sort of like a Far Cry thing, where it's like you get this thing from this creature by killing it, but instead of it being like a big bear in Far Cry, it's like a big robot dinosaur thing. So I'm like, I go kill the thing. It doesn't have it on him, and I looked it up, and it's like, oh, you have to like remove the part off of him with tear damage by killing him. So you can't just go up to it and take it. So I did that, but I used tear damage to get rid of the piece. It was like on his chest to get the piece, and it just broke off. It wasn't even there. And I was like, this is stupid. This sucks. Like it pissed me off so much. And also just like a game about marksmanship and like being so specific about certain areas to target, like your arrows are very inaccurate. Even when you get a better arrow that like it zooms in or whatever, like super close, your arrows feel like inaccurate, or like they go through things, and you're like, why? It's so frustrating. And also, when you scan a dinosaur, like it takes a second for it to scan, and then it takes a second for it to like show what its weaknesses are, which is annoying because I'm trying to see what the weaknesses are, and I'm in the middle of this fight, and I really don't have time for this. It should really just sort of like slow down time so you could like look at what the weaknesses are or something, because that fucked me up a few times where I'm like trying to look at things and then it switches to different like locations on its body. When you like zoom in on it, it's like, oh, it's weak here, so shoot here. But it's like, no, I'm just trying to see its overall weakness. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. Now I've been very harsh. I've been very harsh.
Sounds like you love the game.
I've been very harsh on the game, okay? But hear me out. It's not a bad game, though. It's fucking gorgeous. You fly around and you're just like, damn. It's one of those games where you're like, damn, we did it. You know? Like, you're like, damn. This game, damn. You know? You say that a lot. You're like, damn. And the characters...
And then you begin a fight and you're like, damn.
Well, even some of the fight is like, sometimes you're fighting and you're like, this is good. I can see where it's going. I think it was better in Horizon Zero Dawn, though. You know? Where they took it too far in this one, almost, in a weird way. So, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, this one was a bit of a stinker compared to the first one, but I still have hopes for the third one. And I know there's going to be a third one, because this one ends with a cliffhanger as well. Which, if I'm being honest, is kind of frustrating, because
it's not a full story.
Yeah, after the first one, it's like we've been waiting for years for closure to this thing, but no, it's just like, no, we're on to the next thing, no closure. And at least with the first one, there was a bit of mystery around like, oh, what's Silence doing with this? What is he gonna do with this? And I won't spoil like any of that stuff, because that's kind of what this game is about. But this one is not even like a mystery, like what the threat is. It's like, you know what the threat is, you know what's going on. It's like, oh, I feel like I'm supposed to continue the game right now,
but you don't.
But it just ends. It's like interesting, kind of, but like, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know. I think there's a lot of good in the game, but like, yeah, it's yeah. Anyway, that's my
So the space ghosts are the bad guys, and now you got to go to space to fight them in the next one.
The space ghosts.
They're space ghosts, right?
Kinda. Yeah. It's kind of like that, something like that. Okay. I won't spoil it, but I think it's worth playing. Like, if you got nothing else to play and you're like, I need something to play, you know, it's definitely like a high quality game. And to me, what it feels like is it wasn't finished, and they were like, we need to release this. You know, that's kind of what it felt like to me. And they're like, we need to release this because we need to start working on the third one. And I think that's the problem with like leaving a cliffhanger in video games. You can do it in a Marvel movie,
right?
Because you know that Marvel movie is going to come out in like a year or two, because it takes a year or two to make a movie. But a video game can take like 7 years to make a game. You know, like it's not like you can just release a game in 2 years. You know, so then it's like, I'm waiting. And you know, this is what Cory Barlog said about God of War. He's like, we want to end God of War with this next game, because we don't want to be working on the same story for 15 years. You know?
Right.
And but that's exactly what Guerrilla is doing with Horizon now. And I feel like that was also the downfall of Assassin's Creed originally, where it was like, we have this overarching story, it all leads into each other, and then people leave the company because there's so many, you know, years between these games, and people end up leaving, moving on, and then the plot gets lost, you know?
Well, that's really the problem of the problem with Assassin's Creed as well.
That's what just said.
Oh, okay. Well, I must have lagged out. Sorry.
That is the exact example I just used.
Well, there you go. See, we're on the same page without even knowing it.
Same wavelength. Anyway,
Same
I
wavelength.
went on way too long about Horizon, but yeah, that is my
That's
review.
what you've been
Oh, and
playing.
if I had to give it a ranking,
Right, which we don't do here. We
which
don't
we
like those.
don't do rankings, but if I had to do it,
If you had to do it, if you had a gun to your head and somebody said rank this fucking game,
and I know I've been harsh to it, but I'll give
10
it
out
an
of 10.
I'll give it an Anthony
10 out of 10.
Fantano rating here. I'll give it a light 7 to a strong, or I'll give it a strong 7 to a light 8 is what I'd give it. And the
Okay.
reason that's frustrating to me is because I'd give Horizon Zero Dawn a strong 8 to light 9. You know what I mean? Like, I love
Yeah.
that game, and this game just didn't reach those heights, unfortunately.
Damn.
Still good game though. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still good. There's still a
With
lot
all
there.
of its with all of its flaws, it's still a good game.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of cool stuff they added, like the glider. You can glide around now. Like, that's cool. I think the swimming
is-
sections are really good, but like not enough of them. I think at the end you get spoilers, but you're able to fly on a machine at the end, and that's pretty cool to be able to fly. But yeah. Anyway, Horizon. Anyway, yeah. Move on.
Nice.